Pirates have been sailing the video game seas literally since the dawn of video games, but more and more, publishers and game developers are coming up with really crafty ways to fight back. We've talked about this a bit in the past, but we got some fun new examples for you. We got 10 games that troll pirates in really funny ways. Starting off with number 10, let's talk about Batman Arkham Asylum, one of the best surprise Batman games to come seemingly out of nowhere. The series is known for anti-piracy stuff, but I don't see Arkham Asylum really getting a lot of recognition. But for this, it was pretty simple. If you pirated the game, there'd be a bug where Batman couldn't glide. Like his cape was messed up, and when you try to glide, he kind of just chicken flaps his way down. Along with that, randomly in the game, there were points where you couldn't grapple, like places specifically where you had to grapple up to progress the game. It just didn't work. It was kind of unpredictable and seemingly really annoying, so what you have here is a Batman that can't Batman.
I don't like it.
I mean, he can still break every bone in somebody's body and solve any manner of complicated crimes, but he can't glide with his cape and he can't use his grappling hook, so what good is he? So really, in this situation, the person who makes out the worst is Batman. Can't even do what he was put on this earth to do. You don't want to do Batman dirty like that, do you? Next, over at number 9, this is a pretty crazy one. The original Mirror's Edge would do something similar to Batman, where it would take away the character's main ability, the thing that they are supposed to do. As you probably know, the original Mirror's Edge was a pretty groundbreaking first-person parkour adventure game where you play as Faith and you gotta jump and vault over fences, do wall runs, and jump from building to building. And the game would essentially ground you. You'd start running, and at certain points, her feet would basically become molasses, and you'd slow down and kind of just get stuck. Watching gameplay videos of it, like people who have captured this, it almost seems like one of those strange nightmares where you kind of feel like you're sinking into quicksand. Like Faith will just slowly start walking slower and slower to the point where if you're going to run towards a ledge and jump, right before she'll start slowing down, and then you just slowly ease up to that ledge and you don't have the momentum to make the jump. I've seen a lot of commenters and stuff on these videos saying that EA is basically making you walk the plank here because the big jump in the beginning of the game is off of this plank down to another lower skyscraper, and Faith essentially just walks slowly up to that plank and looks over the edge. So it's like a pirate reference. Walk the plank. You see what we're doing here? Comedic geniuses on the internet. Really, I think the developers in that instance definitely knew what they were doing. They were being cheeky. Next, over at number 8, oh man, this one is crazy. So Gary's mod in 2011 was updated with essentially a fake error that served as a way to deliberately identify and catch pirates. If you pirated the game after this update, you'll get like an error message that says unable to shade polygon normals. This error screen also apparently showed the Steam ID of the game user. So then from there, what a lot of people did on Steam was they would screenshot that error screen and post it on forums and on Steam saying, hey, what's going on with my game? What does unable to shade polygon normals mean? That literally doesn't really mean anything, I don't think. But essentially it led to a lot of people who pirated the game outing themselves. And apparently, according to website BitGamer, they unmasked over 2,500 pirates. Gary Mod's developer, Gary Newman, went on the record with BitGamer and I quote, said, I don't really look at it as lost revenue. It's cool. I've pirated as much as anyone. I owned an Amiga. Did anybody actually buy games for that thing? According to the site, he also explained it not technically as a total anti-piracy measure, but as a reward for people who already bought the game. He said, and I quote, it isn't meant to be some super DRM. Any DRM you come up with is going to be cracked. So why bother trying to make it hard to crack? Making it uncrackable isn't the motive here. Laughing at them is. I did this for the people that did buy Gary's mod. They get to point and laugh at pirates. He basically created a bug for people to self-own, and you're gonna see that theme a lot in this video. Next up at number 7, depending on what region of the world you live in, you may be surprised to learn that there are entire games centered around the sport of cricket. The CEO of the development company, Big Ant Studios behind Cricket 22, basically showed screenshots of people complaining about a white screen error in between matches. He showed that and said, yeah, I know how you can fix it. You can purchase the game and this issue will disappear. That's a pretty classic way to try and fight back against piracy, just have the game break when it is pirated. But when Big Ant Studios talked to Kotaku. They went on record saying they have other things in store for their games, and they've done a lot of things in the past. Like if you pirated the game, in your matches, you will always lose 100% of coin tosses, rain glitches, and rain problems. When speaking to Kotaku, he said, and I quote, "I figure if people are going to steal the game, we might as well have some fun at their expense." He actually has some interesting things to say in terms of converting people to real customers by promising people who pirated the game that they can actually transfer their progress over when you buy a legitimate copy, and said that sales are actually up. So I guess for them, that was a pretty good way of making lemons out of lemonade, or lemons out of lemonade out of lemons. I don't know the phrase. Next, over at number 6, Sullgirls. You probably remember from a few years back. It's a massively popular animated style 2D fighting game. Just cool visuals, great art style, really good music, characters that people just kind of fell in love with. People were really hooked on this game, including some people that pirated the game, with one person specifically outing themselves on social media because all the developers did was put a little cryptic message at the end of the game when you finish it that popped up specifically for people who pirated the game. The message just says, "What is the square root of fish? Now I'm sad." Totally just nonsense and totally just inserted into the game for people that pirate it to maybe put them on some false wild goose chase. But somebody on social media actually tweeted at the Sullgirls official account and said, "Hey, I got this message after beating the game. I don't know what it means." To which Sullgirls replied, "Oh, that probably means you should have bought the game instead of pirating it." And then a bunch of people pointed and laughed, and there you go. I mean, props to this guy for having the balls to tweet at the official account, but he kind of tried to cover his tracks and say he already bought the PlayStation 3 version and he was just kind of testing the PC version. Whatever, people have all types of meltdowns or just say a bunch of things on social media all the time. It happened years ago. We don't need to dunk on anyone. I actually think it ended at a good point because the person that got outed for this actually stated that somebody gifted him a copy of the game on Steam. Maybe they felt bad for him. Maybe they were just trying to do the right thing. But either way, that's kind of nice. Everybody can learn from their mistakes, and sometimes it takes a helping hand. Next, over at number 5, oh man, this is a really good one. So The Sims 4 is probably the biggest Sims game ever released. It's the most popular, it's the one with the most expansions, and the one with the biggest player count. And when it first initially released, people were reporting a pretty wild glitch. It's really funny to see in action. So essentially in The Sims, when your character gets naked, they get pixelated out like a censored thing like you would see on TV. It's very classic Sims, it's very funny, but then the problem is that once the players put the clothes back on, they would still continue to be censored. Like they would just be a blurry, pixelated blob. And then that would keep spreading and growing and then cover the entire screen. And then your entire home, your everything within the game is completely blurry and pixelated, making it pretty close to unplayable. It almost looks like one of those cool filters that you'd unlock in a game to apply and look at it for 2 minutes and go, "Oh, cool," and then turn it off. But this, you were stuck with. And this was specifically put into the game to only happen to people that pirated the game. This one's pretty funny. It's just like obnoxious. It's almost like, you know, you're concerned about your monitor, like what's going on here. I think it was just brilliant how it was born out of something that was already in the game. They didn't just pixelate the screen just because. They actually took the character pixelation concept and blew it out. You gotta give the Sims developers points for creativity here. Next, down at number 4, one of our favorite games here at gameranx, it's Grand Theft Auto 4. Yes, Rockstar did some pretty good tricks to try to prevent piracy, or at least push back in some way, and reportedly they did a handful of little annoying things that would make it harder for people, like, you know, computers in the game not being able to be accessed, certain parts of missions that would just stop working or would block you from progressing, like a character wouldn't get in a car, or a cutscene wouldn't trigger, you know, basic stuff like we've mentioned earlier in the video where the developers just kind of break the game so that people who pirate it just can't use it. But they also went a little crazy here. Players who pirated the game also reported cars just accelerating automatically as soon as you get in them, which is insane. It's almost like when you put on the like riot mode cheats where everybody just goes crazy and cars are driving like nuts, but it's you, the player. So as soon as you press triangle to get into a car, I hope you're ready. Along with that, with cars, damaged engines was apparently a thing where as soon as you would get in a vehicle, it would automatically be smoking and ready to blow. If you've played any Grand Theft Auto game, which I'm pretty sure most of you have, you know that that is incredibly inconvenient. But the best one is the automatic drunk camera. Now, Grand Theft Auto 4 was pretty big for having mini games where you could go to a bar and get drunk and your character would stumble around around and be hard to control, and the camera would wiggle around. Well, believe it or not, if you pirated the game, there's a good chance that your screen would shake like it did in drunk mode, but all the time. So while you can regularly move around, it is very hard to see and you might get motion sickness. Good luck targeting characters like with your gun or anything like that, because it makes the game a hot mess. And as a countermeasure for piracy, just making everybody kind of drunk, that's pretty funny. Now down to number 3, Serious Sam 3. Just a good old-fashioned, kind of old-school style first-person shooter, high speed, high chaos. We've done videos on this series before. We don't think it gets enough love, especially for newer generations, but Serious Sam 3 did a funny little thing. If you pirate it, you will be constantly harassed by this big, gross scorpion from the moment you start jumping into the game. And that big, gross scorpion is invincible and extremely quick, so it is always, and like I mean it, right up your ass, right in your face. And it's just straight up obnoxious. It's really funny to see it in motion, but it is really wild. So I mean, players do technically love hard, challenging games, right? So I guess if you're looking for the ultimate Serious Sam challenge, I guess you could go for something like this. Good luck. Next, over at number 2, the early days of Crysis, it was like the glory days, man. What an experience to have a PC that would actually run that thing. It was like a rarity. Then when Crysis Warhead came around, they stepped things up a little bit, in more ways than one. If you're running a pirated copy of Crysis Warhead, in our opinion, you're actually getting a better version of the game than if you paid for it, because in the pirated copy, every single gun shoots something other than bullets. They actually shoot chickens. Yes, every single gun will fire just big old birds instead of tiny bullets. And from gameplay we've seen on the internet, it seems like it's not just your weapons, but also the enemy's weapons as well. Like gunfire is now chicken fire. I think the only thing they needed to do, a missed opportunity, is replace the gun sounds with chicken sounds. That would have made it even better, but again, they were trying to combat piracy with this, not really encourage it. Next, over at number 1, let's talk about Game Dev Tycoon. These games are fun, and the Game Dev one specifically, after like the first day of it going on sale, apparently most of the versions running were pirated versions. So the 2-person developer team actually uploaded their own cracked copy of the game on a file sharing piracy site preemptively that had a few extra lines of code. So if you play the pirated copy of the game, your own in-game game that you and your little studio in the game are making will be pirated, and you'll lose a ton of profits, eventually leading to your in-game studio's bankruptcy. This of course led to, like we've said many other times in the videos, tons of players going online on message boards and review sites saying, hey, what's wrong with the game? Why is this happening? Only to out themselves as pirating the game. Shout out to Eurogamer in this instance for collecting a lot of funny reactions to this. Just another really A+ 100% example of top tier trolling. Nice job. And really that's what this video is about. Game developers and publishers that tried to troll the pirates in their games. Like I said, we've talked about some examples before, but there's definitely more out there, so we'd love to hear your own suggestions or maybe something you experienced if you're willing to out yourself down in the comments. Clicking the like button does help us out. If you like talking games with us every day and hanging out, thank you. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.